Hi everyone, my name is Parth and I'm back with another video. This video will give the user a basic idea about what are constructors and what are different types of constructors available in C Sharp. So let's begin. So the agenda of this presentation would be we'll get an idea about a constructor, what is a constructor, what role does it perform, and then we'll see the different types of constructors which are default, parameterized, copy, static, and private. So what is a constructor? So we know that in C Sharp, everything or every code we write is inside a class. So constructor is a special method which gets executed automatically when we create the object of a class, or you can say when we instantiate a class. So it's a special kind of a method which gets invoked or which gets executed automatically when we create the object of a class. The syntax is very simple. So you can see here in the example, we have a class CLS edition, and inside the class, we have a constructor, public CLS edition. So constructors are declared by using the same class name, which, of which they are a part of, and constructors do not have any return type. A single class can have multiple constructors, which means it's possible to have more than one constructor in a class, and this concept is known as constructor overloading. The benefit of having a constructor in a class is that it guarantees that the object will go through a proper initialization before an object is being used. So in other words, basically we do the pre-initialization of some of the class variables with values before an object is being used with the help of a constructor. A constructor can be called by another constructor by using a this keyword. So this keyword basically signifies or means the current instance of a class. So we can call a constructor from inside another constructor by using this keyword. Next is types of constructors. So broadly classified constructors are divided into 5 types: default constructor, parameterized constructor, copy constructor, static constructor, and private constructor. So let's begin with the default constructor. So default constructor is one which does not take any parameters. So basically a constructor without any input parameters is known as a default constructor. So here we have the same class which we saw earlier. The class name is CLS edition. And then we have another class program, and inside program we have a main method. So you can see that inside our CLS edition class, we have a public constructor by the name CLS edition, and it has a variable inside it, my code, which is assigned a value of 9. So whenever inside the main method, as you can see, we are creating the object of a class using the new keyword. As soon as this line of code gets executed, it will go to the public constructor, which is inside the CLS edition class. Next comes the parameterized constructor. So a constructor which can have one or more than one input parameter is known as a parameterized constructor. And those different input parameters can be of the same data type, or they can be of different data types as well. So again, let's refer to the same class. You have a class CLS edition. You see we have a public constructor, but this time in the constructor, you can see that it has three input parameters: type, A, and B. So type is of data type string, and A and B input parameters are of data type integer. Now, from the main method, which is inside the program class, when we are creating the object of CLS addition class, you can see in the bracket we are passing the three values. So these three values are the values for the input parameters of the parameterized constructor, which is CLS addition. So for type, we are passing addition. For A, we are passing a value of 7. And for B, we are passing a value of 2. And then the type, we are passing addition. It, it is being assigned to the variable I type. Value of A, which is 7, is being assigned to X. And value of B, which is 2, is being assigned to Y. And then you see we are printing the type value, X value, and Y value on the console screen. Next is the copy constructor. So basically, we can say that a constructor that contains a parameter of the same class type is known as a copy constructor. In other words, a copy constructor enables us to copy the data stored in the member variables of an object of a class into another new object. In layman terms, it means that we are copying the data stored in one object into another newly created object of the same class or of the same instance. So here you see we have a class car and we have a class program. Inside car, we have three variables. You can say name of car number, and car price. Then you can see we have two constructors. First one is the parameterized constructor. And second one is the copy constructor. So you can see that the copy constructor is taking the input parameter as the object reference. And the object reference is obj car. Then inside the main method, which is in the program class, we are first calling the parameterized constructor by passing the values for name of car, which is BMW sedan, car number 4545, and car price 5000000. So as soon as this line of code gets executed, the parameterized constructor is called. And then you can see in the second line under the main method, we are creating one more object of the same class car with the reference obj2, and we are passing the first reference, which is obj1, into this. So what it will do, it will copy all the values which are there in obj1, the old instance, into the newly created instance, which is obj2. And then we are printing the name of the car number, and the car price. Next is static constructor. So static constructor is one which does not take any parameters. It should be parameterless, means that it shall not have any input parameters. So program basically will not execute if static constructor is having any input parameter. Static constructor can be evoked once for any number of instances created, and it is invoked only during the first initialization of instance. And it's basically used to initialize static fields of the class. So you can see that we have a class here, CLS addition, and we have a class program. Inside the class CLS addition, we have first a parameterized constructor taking two parameters, X and Y. Then we have a static constructor. You can see static CLS addition, and then we have a public CLS addition, which is our default constructor. And then we have a method inside our class, which is display method. Then inside the main method, which is in the program class, first of all, when we are creating the object, we are basically calling you can say a default constructor. So as soon as this instantiation of the class happens, before the default constructor, the static constructor will be called. Followed by that, default constructor will be called. And then you can see using that object reference, we are calling the display method. And then finally, we are calling the parameterized constructor by passing the values of X and Y as 10 and 15. And then again, we are calling the display method. The final one is the private constructor. So a constructor with a private access modifier is known as a private constructor. A class which has a private constructor cannot be inherited. So we cannot inherit a class which has a private constructor into our child classes. And also, one most important thing is that we cannot create an object of the class which is having a private constructor. So the C# code will not allow us to create the object of a class which is having a private constructor. So you can see we have a class here, CLS employee. It has a private constructor, CLS employee. And then you can see inside the main method, which is in the program class, you can see we are not creating the object of the class since it has a private constructor. So if we try to create a object of a class using a private constructor, it will give us a compile time error. So that was all about constructors. I hope you got a basic understanding of what constructors are, what they do, and what are different types of constructors. So I will see you in some other video next time. Thank you.